Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Black History Month is a time in the United States where every February this month is set aside to learn, honor, and celebrate the achievements of black men and black women throughout American history. Names such as Thurgood Marshall, Rosa Parks, Malcolm X, and the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. are just a few of the many that we take time to remember. It's a time of honor, pride, and gratitude, not only for the African American community, but the American community. And as Black History Month comes near its close, we want to have the chance to ask African Americans from several different generations, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, how do they define their lives as African Americans? How do they remember those who came before them? And what does being black mean to them? How do they celebrate and honor the skin color of which they live in? And what does it really mean to be behind that skin color? Our guests tonight tell WLJS News that it is nothing but a blessing. We get their thoughts. Today is Saturday, February the 23rd, 2013. We want to welcome our listeners here in the state of Alabama and around the world. The title of tonight's program is Behind the Skin, the Definition of Being Black. My name is Ed Moore III, and this is WLJS News. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ed Moore III, news anchor here at WLJS. We're live here at the Communications Building on the campus of Jacksonville State University in Jacksonville, Alabama. We thank you so much for joining our broadcast tonight. Well, they come from all over. They are of different ages, occupations, and even generations. One thing that they all have in common, all of our guests have in common tonight, is that they are all African American, and that they all have something great to say about their heritage, their culture, and the true meaning of being black and celebrating Black History Month. They compose of civil rights leaders, they compose of students, they compose of gospel artists, and they compose of all different walks of life. Please allow me to introduce my guests that are here with us this evening. I would like to introduce, he was a regular when I was hosting the Late Night with Ed Moore III show, which, as many of you all know, ended in November of last year. Please welcome former Late Night with Ed Moore III advisor David E. Reddick, who was also the Calhoun County, Alabama NAACP chapter president. I would also like to introduce Miss Jackie Stamps. Miss Stamps is a recording gospel artist here in the state of Alabama, and we welcome her here to WLJS News. I would also like to introduce my colleague here at WLJS Studios. She has her own time slot Friday afternoons from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. and her name is Miss Kiara Blue. We welcome her to WLJS News. I would also like to welcome Pastor Roosevelt Parker. He is a longtime civil rights leader here in the state of Alabama, and he is also pastor of New Hope Missionary Baptist Church in Jacksonville. I would also like to introduce Mr. Waludim Muhammad. He is a member of the Nation of Islam, and he was also the security guard for one of the most highly recognized civil rights leaders in American history, Mr. the late Malcolm X. And I would also like to welcome Miss Rochelle Tolbert Dorsey. Miss Dorsey is also she works in health services here in the state of Alabama, and we thank you all so much for taking the time to be here this evening. It's such a pleasure to have you all here. It is Black History Month. It is a month that we never forget. It is a month that never passes us by. If I can just start off, I want to start off with you, Miss Rochelle Tolbert Dorsey. How do you define being Black and honoring Black History Month?
How I honor being Black is fairly simple. Being the best parent I can possibly be, being the best wife I can possibly be. Trying to knock a lot of the stereotypes that society sometimes deem a strong Black woman to be. I try to do my best at all times by showing that there is so much more to us than some of the negative stereotypes. And that's what I try to do, to celebrate African American, and also teaching my boys. I have 2 children of my own, and I want them to know how beautiful it is to be African American and also be dark skinned also.
Why is Black history so important, and how do you, and I'm going to ask you, Jackie Stamps. Jackie Stamps is a gospel artist here in the state of Alabama. How do you define Black history?
For me, defining Black history is being confident basically in your skin. A lot of times we get lost in knowing who we are, and I try to teach my children, I'm a piggyback off of Rochelle, there's no such thing as just one color. We are all American people. And I believe in teaching them that, and that once you teach them that, their children will grow to learn the same thing, and it'll go on from generation to generation as well.
Brother Waluddin Muhammad, by the way, the name Waluddin, it means friend of the faith. I want to know, Brother Muhammad, you helped guard one of the most highly recognized figures in Black history, the late Malcolm X. I'm sure you have some kind of great perspective on what it means to be Black and why Black history is so important.
Well, Black history is important because all of the knowledge that I have learned over the years from my first teacher, Malcolm, following Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and then Minister Farrakhan, to go out and help our people and uplift our people. This is the best Black history that you could have, okay? And I'm proud, of my Blackness because my history goes so far back, and even personally, my history, it goes so far back, and my family. I'm very proud of being Black in America.
Reverend Roosevelt Parker, how do you define being Black and defining Black History Month?
I defined it as being Black as being a sense of pride in yourself and your people. Black is beautiful, and we should be proud of ourselves and learn to use our Blackness to help us do the thing that we could set out to do. God gave us all talents. We should use those talents in education and on the job, in the community. As Black men, we should be role models for our young people, for the young ladies and things, teaching them that marriage is good and not just single peoples. And we want to stand up and be men. Man up, they say, and be a real man. In our gospel, we try to teach people that being Black is having pride in yourself and doing the thing that you ought to be doing.
I want to go to my colleague, Miss Kiara Blue, who is one of my colleagues here at WLJS. Kiara, when you look around and you see Kiara is a little bit closer to my age. She's she's the youngest person in the room. Kiara, when you hear these, the late civil rights leader Malcolm X and Miss Rochelle Tolbert Dorsey, who works in health services here in the state of Alabama. Before we went to the commercial break, I explain that I want to have the chance to discuss President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama. On Tuesday, November the 4th, 2008, history was made here in the United States of America, in which we elected our first president of African American descent when then Senator Barack Hussein Obama won the election in 2008 by a landslide. And once again, winning the election in 2012. In November 2012, Barack Obama once again was elected as president of the United States of America. When you all hear this, that America has twice elected a president of African American descent, what do you think this has contributed to the meaning of being black? And what has it contributed to Black History Month?
I believe that Barack Obama is a tremendous president, and Michelle is a great first lady, beautiful, and just make me proud just to see her up there, looking as beautiful as she is. And Barack, the president, he could do more if he had his Congress and the Senate working with him. Mm-hmm. Now, he can't do nothing by himself. Now, a lot of people might say he's not doing anything. I heard that said before the election. But he has the Congress that he has to work with. He has a Senate that he has to work with. And those people don't want to work with him. But he's, as a man and as a black man, he make me proud because he is speaking on the topics that we need to be speaking to, like Social Security. A lot of African American people couldn't make it if it wasn't for Social Security. Health care. There's a lot of African American people and Caucasian people that couldn't make it without his health care plan that he has out. So he's doing a lot of things but he's bringing the war in Afghanistan to an end, which a lot of people's lives will be saved. And he's trying to get equality for us as Spanish people, which I think is the right thing to do. So he's doing a lot of things on the outside. But if he were to get the Congress and the Senate to work with him, he would be doing more things, and we would be more proud of him than we are now. But I'm proud of him. I think him and Michelle is a tremendous couple, and I love both of them.
What about the rest of you? When you see First Lady President President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama, when you see them on television, what goes through your heads as black people?
Proud, very proud, excited. It makes you feel good, you know, and I agree with Reverend Parker. I wish that everyone could be on one accord when it comes to the things that Obama is doing for our country. If the Republicans and the Democrats become on one accord, they would see that President Obama is trying to do some great things for our country. You know, I mean, I feel like we could go a long way if they could just get on one accord. Mm-hmm. I feel great about it.
That's good. What about you, Brother Muhammad? When you see President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama, when you see them on television or when you see them walking through the hallways of the White House, what goes through your head as an African American, and how do you think their legacy will be embedded in Black History Month?
They made world history. It will go down in history forever. It's the most beautiful couple I've ever seen. I'm so proud of our president. Black children be inspired. They should be inspired. You know, it's such an uplifting thing. You know, to hear him speak, he's so positive, and Michelle is so positive. You know, and he went to Chicago because of the little girl that was killed, and the violence in Chicago. He's trying to get this gun thing under control. Like the Reverend said, if Congress and the Senate would just back him, he would solve the problems.
Do you think
of
that?
this country.
Do you think that when you all mentioned that part of being an African American and part of Black History Month is the understanding of love, do you think that the President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama, do you think that they embody that essence of love in the African American community?
Yes, definitely, yes.
Really?
very much so.
Mm-hmm.
I think they embody a love of people, period. I mean, black love spreads outside of the black community. We have a love of people.
Right.
And I feel like the president and first lady, they exhibit that. And that's why the country chose him.
Right.
Because it took way more than black voters.
That's right.
And it amazes me that the strength that black people already saw in themselves, the country was able to see in him. I think that's amazing.
Also, go ahead, David E. Reddick. I'm sorry.
I want to jump in on that first question you asked us about Obama. You know, the way it makes me feel, it feels like we're finally in a position where they have to, where